Timor Leste, not part of Dutch colonies. Timor Leste, formerly known as Portuguese Timor, was a colony of Portugal, not the Netherlands. This is based on the Lisbon Agreement of April 20th, 1859, between Portugal and the Netherlands. The Lisbon Agreement defined the boundaries of Dutch and Portuguese colonies on the island of Timor. The western part of the island, controlled by the Netherlands and now known as West Timor, Nusa Tenggara Barat, is within the territory of Indonesia's West Nusa Tenggara province. Meanwhile, the eastern part under Portuguese rule and known as Portuguese Timor is now the independent nation of Timor Leste, or East Timor, having become the 27th province of Indonesia at one point. The agreement involved King Pedro V of Portugal, represented by Antonio Maria de Fontes Pereira de Melo, and King William III of the Netherlands, represented by Plenipotentiary Maurits Jan Heldebier. During the Portuguese colonial era, Timor-Leste was primarily utilized as an exile island for individuals considered problematic by Lisbon, including political prisoners and criminals. Infrastructure development such as roads, healthcare facilities, and schools was minimal. Even the native population of East Timor was only allowed to attend school up to the third grade of primary school. Timor-Leste fell under Japanese occupation from 1942 to 1945. After Japan's defeat in World War II, Timor-Leste was returned to Portuguese control. However, Portugal continued to neglect Timor-Leste, leading to increased suffering among the Timorese people. In the early 1970s, political turmoil unfolded in Portugal between the Estado Novo regime, an anti-communist state, and the Armed Forces Movement, Movimento das Forças Armadas, or MFA, a pro-Marxist military movement. On April 25, 1974, the authoritarian Estado Novo regime was overthrown through massive demonstrations led by workers and the Armed Forces Movement, Movimento das Forças Armadas, or MFA. This event is remembered as the Carnation Revolution, named after the carnation flowers that soldiers attached to the muzzles of their weapons as a symbol of peaceful revolution. The Carnation Revolution led Portugal to release all its colonies, including Timor Leste, which had been colonized for centuries. The people of Timor Leste welcomed this development with joy, as their hope for independence and freedom from Portuguese colonial rule seemed imminent. To pursue the independence of Timor-Leste, three major political parties emerged in May 1974: Unidemocrática Timorense, UDT, Asociação Social Democrata Timorense, ASDT, and Asociação Popular Democrática Timorense, APODETI. On September 11, 1974, the ASDT party, led by Francisco Xavier do Amaral, changed its name to Fretilin, Frente Revolucionaria do Timor-Leste Independente. Fretilin, with a communist ideology, aimed for Timor-Leste to become an independent and sovereign nation. On the other hand, the Nationalist Party, UDT, led by Lopes da Cruz Muxinho, Carrascalao Joya, and Mario, desired Timor-Leste to remain a part of Portugal as a transitional step toward independence. Meanwhile, the APODETI party sought integration with Indonesia. These differing goals led to conflicts between the parties and eventually resulted in a civil war.
Negar e continuamos a afirmar a pé firme que Portugal é a potência descolonizadora e, portanto, tem as suas obrigações e direitos em Timor.
To address the decolonization of Timor-Leste, a meeting was held on March 9, 1975, in London between Portugal, represented by Victor Alves, and Indonesia, represented by General Ali Murtopo. Portugal advocated for Timor-Leste independent and sovereign status, while Indonesia proposed temporary integration, asserting that the Timorese people were not mature enough for independent politics, and immediate independence would lead to prolonged conflicts. Finally, in that meeting, it was agreed that Indonesia would establish a consultative body among the three parties as representatives in Timor-Leste. On June 26, 1975, Portugal invited the three major parties, Fretilin, UDT, and Apodeti for a meeting in Macau. However, Fretilin declined to attend. The absence of Fretilin drew strong criticism from Portugal and various quarters. UDT and Apodeti accused Fretilin of betrayal, alleging that it hindered the struggle for Timor Leste independence. Furthermore, UDT accused Fretilin of being a radical communist party that posed a threat to Timor Leste. Consequently, UDT argued that Fretilin needed to be removed from Timor Leste. Tensions between the parties escalated, leading to armed conflicts between them.
Will both the UDT and Apodeti take part in these talks?
Now we want to talk to the Portuguese government, and because we want to decide future, we are waiting for the Portuguese government to apply.
But you want independence right now, don't you?
On August 11, 1975, UDT initiated an anti-communist revolutionary movement by attacking Fretilin's headquarters. Numerous casualties resulted from Fretilin, with many commanders and members being captured and executed. UDT even detained individuals with communist inclinations, including Portuguese nationals. Swiftly, UDT seized control of the city of Dili and strategic sectors, including the telecommunications building, radio station, police station, and military headquarters in the city. Fretilin did not remain passive in the face of the brutal attack on its headquarters. Fretilin retaliated by attacking the Apodeti party and King Abatse, considered the main supporter of UDT. After defeating Apodeti, Fretilin continued its attack on UDT, leading to a civil war in Timor Leste with casualties on both sides. Many people fled to the eastern border of Indonesia seeking protection, while a small number entered the forests and mountains to avoid the civil war. The atmosphere during the civil war was truly tense, and Governor Lemos Pires was forced to flee to Atauro Island with Portuguese forces. Subsequently, Governor Lemos Pires sought assistance from Indonesia to resolve the conflict and evacuate civilian victims. Indonesia dispatched the warship Monggin Sidi, led by Colonel Subiakto, to evacuate civilians on August 27, 1975. Additionally, Colonel Subiakto successfully mediated between UDT and Fretilin to establish a ceasefire. During the ceasefire, Governor Lemos Pires requested Indonesia to withdraw its troops and leave Timor Island. Although Governor Lemos Pires' request was criticized by many, including the international community, Indonesia reluctantly withdrew its warship. At the same time, Governor Lemos Pires withdrew all his staff and forces to return to Portugal. This action reignited the civil war in East Timor, with Fretilin successfully pushing UDT back to the Indonesian border and winning this battle. On November 28, 1975, Fretilin declared the independence of East Timor, appointing Xavier do Amoral as president and Nicolau dos Reis Lobato as Vice President and Prime Minister of East Timor. 2 days later, on November 30, 1975, the UDT and Apodeti parties declared their integration with Indonesia. This declaration, known as the Balibo Declaration, received support from the United States and Australia due to concerns about Fretilin's communist ideology. This move angered Fretilin, and with full force, Fretilin attacked the headquarters of UDT and Apodeti at the Indonesian border. Indonesian military forces, ABRI, stationed at the border were also attacked by Fretilin, further escalating tensions with Indonesia. Naturally, Indonesia responded with displeasure to these attacks by Fretilin. Before Operation Seroja, Indonesia had already conducted Operation Komodo under the command of Major General Ali Murtopo. The purpose of Operation Komodo was to gather detailed information about the political parties in Timor Leste and the desires of the Timorese people. The conclusion drawn from Operation Komodo was that the people of Timor wanted independent sovereignty under Fretilin, which had a communist ideology. This raised concerns in Indonesia, given its anti-communist stance, especially during the Cold War between the liberal bloc led by the United States and the communist bloc led by the Soviet Union. Indonesia was determined not to allow Timor Leste to become a communist state, and the United States, in turn, did not want Indonesia to be influenced by communism. Therefore, on December 6, 1975, President Gerald Ford and U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger visited Indonesia. During the meeting, it was revealed that the United States would not oppose Indonesia's invasion of Timor Leste. In fact, there were reports that the United States supplied weapons and financial support to Indonesia for the invasion of East Timor. The United States and Indonesia agreed that Fretilin, with its communist ideology, posed a significant threat to Indonesia and Asia. Consequently, there was consensus that Fretilin needed to be eliminated. The decision to remove Fretilin through military operations had been discussed earlier by President Suharto and Henry Kissinger during Suharto's visit to Camp David on July 5, 1975. Gerald Ford's visit to Indonesia was essentially the finalization of the implementation of this agreement. One day after President Gerald Ford's visit, on December 7, 1975, Indonesia launched a large-scale invasion of East Timor. This invasion marked the largest military operation in Indonesia's history, involving the Indonesian National Armed Forces, ABRI. Army, Navy, and Air Force units were mobilized to attack Timor-Leste. Indonesian warships targeted Fretilin's headquarters on the west and east sides of the city of Dili. Simultaneously, Air Force units parachuted troops directly into the city of Dili. In just one day, Indonesia successfully seized control of the city of Dili, pushing back Fretilin and Falintil forces and liberating thousands of UDT and Apodeti prisoners. Falintil forces fled into the forests and mountains, with many seeking refuge in Baucau. 3 days later, on December 10, 1975, Indonesian forces, with support from American and Australian warships and fighter planes, attacked Fretilin's headquarters in Baucau by sea and air. With the fall of Dili and Baucau into Indonesian hands, along with several other areas, it can be said that Indonesia won this battle. On July 17, 1976, Indonesia officially announced Timor Leste as part of Indonesia, designating it as the 27th province with the name East Timor or Timor Timur. This move was well received by some communities in East Timor and certain political parties such as UDT, Apodeti, and Kota. How about Operation Seroja? Is it still ongoing? Find the answer in the next video.